This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Well, hello and welcome back onto the Research Talks here from Stockbox. How are you doing, Alan Green?
I'm very good, thank you, Mark. Although it's raining again. It was nice yesterday when we spoke, but yes, here we are again, and it's raining. So back to the usual stuff.
Back to the usual stuff. Yeah, well, we'll see. Well, in the Netherlands, it's Koningsdag tomorrow, which is King's Day. So it's the King's birthday. So tonight is Koningsnacht, King's Night. So this is the night when all the Dutch dress up in orange, the national colour of the Netherlands, and go out and drink. So I have been invited myself by some friends, so I may partake. And then tomorrow you can guarantee there'll be lots of parties in the street, lots of orange everywhere. There'll be various contraptions going up and down the canal. I think one of the best ones I saw last year was some barrels strung together and some pallets on top, and they'd picked a motor from a scrapyard and they were basically punting down the canal about sort of eight young men with music and beverages in hand. So yes, scenes to look forward to in the Netherlands this weekend for me.
Indeed, and one or two sore heads. I shouldn't wonder. I mean, having sort of toured around the Netherlands extensively, primarily on two wheels, we have stopped at various breweries because, of course, the Dutch are famous for their brewery hospitality, and they have these breweries which are family owned, where you can turn up and eat, and you can stay overnight and just basically spend 24 or 48 hours drinking the beer and sampling the local food. And of course, these beers creep up on you. They taste fantastic, but often with 10-14% proof. When you go up and go to the loo, it's often a completely different experience.
Yes,
it's great. It really is good. They have a great tradition of beer brewing there. So I suppose my only advice for you tonight would be, Mark, pace yourself.
Yeah, pace myself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I have had my experience of the Dutch beers. A couple of years ago. Well, the Belgian beers, a lot of Belgian influence as well.
Yeah,
so I've already learnt my lesson a couple of years ago. So I just need to cast my mind back to 2 years ago and just remember, to
yeah. We've all been there. We've all been there.
Indeed. Well, let's talk about some companies then, Alan, to end the week, or indeed to start the week, as this will be going on Sunday evening. So Sovereign Metals, first of all. Let's hear what your thoughts are on Sovereign. Great company, really. Well, it looks like.
Well, it's a fantastic company. I mean, I know Sapan Guy, the head of commerce over here, pretty well, and been working with Sapan for a number of years. But I think Sovereign have it's a great company, but it's also a long way down the road. And if you look at the share price performance over the past year, well, particularly since October, from a charter standpoint, we've just seen a series of higher lows, and that's always a very strong sign. It means the floor is, or the floor of least possible value is rising all the time. So in October we hit 21p, 21.5p in December. Then January we were up to 22.5, and then we hit a low of 22.5p again in March. Since then, we've had a higher low of 23.5p. So we're just seeing this consistent price action, and with very good reason. I mean, the background on Sovereign, of course, is well known by now. But Sovereign are the owners, 100% owners of the world's largest rutile project, and of course, rutile is basically titanium dioxide. It has a multitude of applications, and it's used. It has applications in porcelain, glass, steel and copper alloys, and of course the titanium brilliant or the brilliant white paint that you buy from your DIY store. The brilliant white in that is the titanium dioxide. It has applications in welding as well, and at this point, the company has a number of takeoff agreements already in place with Haskell, the company that supplies welding rods worldwide, Mitsui, or Chemours, the French company, to name but a few. So, in comparison to other rutile deposits, and there aren't many, but Sovereign's Kasia project in Malawi absolutely dwarfs the competition, with 1.8 billion tons of rutile at 1%, and it's the rutile is fairly shallow as well, so it's easy to access, and also through the work there, they have made an extensive graphite discovery, some 201 square kilometers containing the rutile and the graphite is at 1.4%. The most recent development, of course, about a week ago, the company announced it had hired a Dr. Surinder Garg, and Dr. Garg has been appointed to bring his experience. He's a metallurgist of some 25 years experience, and he has an extensive experience in developing graphite test programs. And he's been onboarded with the company to strengthen the team in preparation for the actual execution of the project. Kasia is, through its operating purposes, it's going to deliver the world's lowest carbon footprint graphite and rutile, and of course, Dr. Garg joining at this point will help to accelerate and streamline that process. Now, the project of this size, of course, takes a long time to come to fruition, and there are numerous ESG initiatives that the company is addressing as we go through, as it goes through its evolution. Back in 2022, Malawi's President Chakwera addressed the 77th session of the United Nations, highlighting that Malawi was a fast-growing economy and it now had the world's largest rutile deposit, which would contribute to that. But of course, in social terms, it's incumbent on the company and the team to really contribute to developing the environment there. Of course, the Lilongwe, or the town of Lilongwe, is closest to the project, and in that regard, the company's investing extensively in local stakeholder relations, creating social performance objectives as part of its CSR program. And of course, as the company goes into its DFS phase, that's of course the definitive feasibility study, it is also developing alongside that social initiatives, in particular a sustainable farming initiative to increase the maize yield and improve long-term crop security. Now, Frank Egar, who came in as managing director, Frank has worked with a number of funds, also former chief finance officer, Central Copper Resources, and chief executive of Baobab Steel. Frank joined in December 22 as general manager, 2022 as general manager, and he's now appointed MD, and he's overseeing this, but he and the team have also previously overseen similar programs with First Quantum Minerals, which of course own the huge copper mine, a Central copper mine in Zambia. And there they've launched an initiative where 7,000 farmers have participated in this sustainable farming initiative. And with the work they've already done in the Kasia region, they have tripled, or they're on target to triple that crop yield. So hugely important work there, because of course they're investing into the community and developing the community alongside the DFS, which is now underway. The company has also upscaled the lithium-ion battery program, and they've extracted ore. And this ore 30 tons of ore have been delivered to a lab in South Africa as part of the pre-feasibility study in collaboration with Rio Tinto. And of course, the whole project really has been cornerstone. The company has major investors anyway, but of course, in July 2023, July last year, it was announced that Rio Tinto would invest $40 million, and that gave them 15% of the company. But of course, Rio don't just invest; they become partners too. So they're working alongside Sovereign to develop and bring the project to fruition. So the this has been massively de-risked over the past couple of years, and I think you can partway see that in the share price. But I think given the scale, the sheer scale of this project and the size of it, it's still nowhere near where it could be in terms of value. And as often happens when you have a project of this scale, the company undertakes drilling work outside or exploratory work outside the zone that's been identified, and they've found an 8 kilometer mineralization extension to the south, open at strike, and at depth, and also they have undertaken follow-up drilling north of Cassia, where they're currently drilling 70 holes, some 20 kilometers to the north. And I think, you have to understand the scale of Africa. This is absolutely nothing, but given the fact that they're on the ground there, they'll have done a lot of extensive research work. I think it's pretty safe to say, with a partner like Rio, when you go into drill, you know pretty much what you're going to find there. So it's really exciting, and potentially, this could double, triple in size even from this point. So I think for what Sovereign have already achieved, it's really, really exciting progress. But when you consider, we go back to 2022 when the initial resource estimate was announced. The shares then hit 45p, and here we are now, and all of this work has been done. The project's been de-risked to this extent. They bought in Rio Tinto, and also Australian investment giant Sprott increased its holding from 10% to 11, just under 12% last year. So a lot of institutional backing for the company as well. But I think there's still plenty of upside from here, and really the first target, to my mind, has got to be a return to that 45p that hit back in December 2022.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it's not really talked about, is it? I don't think very much. Sovereign. I mean, it's got a decent market cap, but it's not the sort of real small end that we often talk about. But you just don't see much chatter about it, do you? You know, on the sort of the investing grapevine. I wonder why that is. Don't know.
Well, I've seen some. I mean, we're sort of working with Sapan Guy, the Chief Commerce Officer, and I know obviously you and the team have interviewed him too, Mark. But yes, I mean, it gets out there. But I think probably, ironically, perhaps, a lot of the retail investors that we speak to are looking for early stage projects where they perceive greater upside. But actually, in the mix here, when you've got a project like this that is fast developing, that still has huge upside potential. Once it goes into production and starts selling out selling its products around the world, you're going to see a different set of financial metrics entirely. And I think just the fact that we're still here. I mean, the company's got a market cap now of 150 million rather. So that's which equates to 290 million Aussie dollars. But I mean, 150 million quid. It's still really a micro cap in today's terms. It's certainly not a big company. And I think when you look at that, and when you look at the scale of this project, and you understand what they're doing there are lots of media clips around showing that. I think there's going to be a big reset at some point. Perhaps when the company gets to that DFS phase, and they're sort of moving towards, with Rio, putting the infrastructure together there, then perhaps we'll see the share price jump and push on. But yeah, still great value in my book.
Yeah, no, I think there is great value there. I mean, perhaps not 10x or whatever. I mean, it's still possible, but it's not the sort of real low end of the market, as I say. But there's definitely a fair bit of upside there, significantly de-risked with Rio being involved, and I think a fair bit of further de-risking is going to be coming, probably throughout the course of this year. Really, I mean, as early as the summer, with the work that they've got going on. If you want exposure to a very good-looking project that Rio are involved in the sector that it still at the moment is not shining, but we're starting to see, particularly with things like gold at all-time highs, and also just yesterday, I don't know if you saw, Alan, but BHP making a bid for Anglo.
Yes, yeah. That's huge, and it's just indicative of where the market is right now. And I think if you look at sovereign, why shouldn't Rio bid outright for the whole lot? Perhaps it's happier to partner at this point, but you can be pretty sure when it gets further down the road and there's further de-risking, all of the lab studies have been done. There's going to be probably further investment or greater involvement, and I'm sure Rio will want to do that when the price is at current levels, because really, if you consider where the share price was when the initial resource estimate was announced, we're at approximately just over half of that, so at 26p, and of course that high back in 2022 was 45p. So there's, at the very least, I think that gap should be closed in the coming year, but who knows?
Well, yeah, indeed. One to certainly keep an eye on. We're following the story very closely throughout the course of this year. But let's move on and talk about Acuity Risk Management then, Alan, who also had some pretty significant news this week.
Yes, indeed. So Acuity Risk Management, again, the company's had it's had a sort of a busy year, should we say, but not perhaps reflected in the share price. I mean, we're sitting here now at sort of 6 months lows at 3.3p. The company's got a market cap of just over 4 million. But this company is in my book a real cash cow, and I think there's an opportunity here. It operates in a niche market, so the company specializes, or its primary product is focused. They're focusing government's risk management and compliance, or GRC software. It has an award-winning platform called Stream, where it generates revenues from licensing software, software as a service, or via private cloud delivery. It then offers its professional team the services from its professional team to consult, design, and build the platform, because of course no two platforms will be the same. And then of course there are subscription revenues that the company generates from the business as well. And this is a huge market. It's worth about 17 billion globally at the moment per annum, expected to rise to some 27 billion by 2027. So it's a huge growth market, but through that, the founders have obviously worked the business for many years, but then their chief operating officer, Kerry Chambers, came through from chief operating officer and was appointed as a chief executive. And Kerry's done, I think, a great job in really sort of accelerating the company's growth. Lots of new partnerships won last year, and then I think the threshold moment for the company was in July last year, when the company announced that it won a contract with the British government worth 388,000 over 3 years. And that was a threshold moment, because once you're working with governments, once you become the supplier of choice to governments, then you become embedded in that system, and it's difficult to undo all that, and it's unlikely because the checks and all the checks and balances and the hoops you have to jump through to get in as a contract in the first place are pretty extensive. So the fact that it's got through that process is a massive tick in the box for me, and we've seen the company's continued to win contracts since that time. It's continued to build its base, and indeed, it's now talking to governments around the world on the on the back of that, it won a new contract in January this year with the North USA State Organization, and Kerry said at the time, Kerry Chambers said, "We hope this is the first of many to come, or believe it's the first of many to come." Also, won new partnerships with Claritas, Logicalis, Netitude, and the company said in a trading update at the time that it expects significant progress in 2024. And the company generated revenues in January over the 9-month period of 1.4 million. Expects full year March 23 to generate additional monies. Also, cash at the bank of 1.2 million. That's compared to 900,000 previously, and orders up 44% to 1.6 million from 1.1 million previously. So not perhaps huge numbers, but it's just indicative of the type of business, this slow, steady growth. But of course, once you're there, that it's just hugely cash generative, and this is what the company is all about. And it's been recognised by some pretty canny investors too. In March this year, Jonathan Swan, the activist investor, increased his stake from 3% to just over 4%, owns just under 5 million shares in the company. And of course, he's taking advantage of what have been low prices, because the share price, it looks a bit unloved at the moment. But I think the announcement that we heard the other day, we really expected to change that, but for whatever reason, it hasn't happened yet. And of course, that's the launch of Storm. So alongside the government risk software package it provides the government, has launched an initiative called Protect Duty. It's based on Martin's Law, and it creates a series of risk assessment measures for all large events and attractions expected to attract at least 100 people. And Storm has been designed as the Acuity Storm system has been designed to be fully compliant with Protect Duty, and driven by the best practice that's emerged from that. So with this launch, the Acuity are working in conjunction with the government to develop this. And of course, once it starts to be rolled out, we're going to see. I'm sure the Storm platform will be sold worldwide to other governments as we combat the ever-present threat of terrorism. But at some point, this will impact on revenues for the company, and of course, with companies such as Acuity, they can announce the contract win, and of course that contract will be over several years, and then of course the money starts to come in over that couple of years. So it doesn't really hit the balance sheet until sometime after that. But if you take the opportunity and invest at this level, I think we're going to see a very handsome return from this company in the coming years. And certainly, Kerry Chambers has done a great job at the head of the company so far, and I think we can expect many more contract wins in the coming year.
Indeed, I certainly hope so, Alan. And launching that new software, adds another fantastic branch to the Acuity tree there. Of course, they're already doing very well with their original software there. That's, of course, Stream, the risk management tool. But, launching the Storm for counterterrorism in the House of Commons with a launch party. It was attended by quite a number of people, quite high profile people in government, and also from big organisations such as the BBC were there as well. So they're doing really well, aren't they? I mean, because to say it's a company, I know they've been around a while, but in terms of their public presence, it seems, from the outside looking in, it seems like they've really made a lot of headway into getting into some of these big organisations. And once you're in with these big organisations, it takes quite a while. But then it sort of continues on, doesn't it? Particularly at government level, because they don't switch their contractors around very often at all if they can avoid it. But getting into them is a challenge in the first place. So I think it's great. I think, it's a risk management company, so depends on what you find interesting in life, but it's perhaps not the most sexiest of companies. It's not searching for commodities around the world, but it's steady, isn't it? It's a good model, and the whole software as a service model is the way to go these days for providing services like that. It's a great model.
Oh, it is. It really is. I remember talking to somebody last year about working with the NHS, and they had a contract with the NHS, but it's taken them forever to actually get in front of the right people and get the thing sold. But once they got in, it was highly lucrative. And of course, that's how these things build. Once you're in with a particular government department, you have to jump through those hoops and you're vetted very thoroughly. So the fact that they're where they are is a huge feather in the cap for the team, and it speaks very highly of the integrity and credibility of the company. And of course, you can then take that because, in a sense, you could go and speak to a government anywhere in the world, in Australia or wherever, and you're already pre-qualified through working for the British government. Although, I guess you could look at the Tories and say, well, perhaps the government government standards aren't what they were a few years ago. But nonetheless, you've still got to work through the various departments and become embedded in there. And I think this is something. Now they've got this contract in place and they've got the new Storm product launch as well. I think they can then take that out and roll that out pretty quickly. So I'm sure they'll have a sales team on the ground that are already speaking to government representatives for various countries around the world to bring both Stream and Storm on stream with those respective countries.
Indeed, indeed. Well, okay, thank you. Let's finish off with another miner then. This is KDR, Karelian Diamond Resources.
Yeah, Karelian Diamond Resources. So I had the privilege of interviewing Professor Richard Cornroy a few weeks ago, and he's a fascinating chap. He's absolutely, excuse the pun, a mine of information. But he, when we started talking, he really was very enthused by Karelian and the opportunities they had in Finland. So they have they have a number of assets in Finland. They have the Laatujoki diamond deposit, which is northeast of Helsinki, and this has got the potential to be the first diamond mine in Europe outside of Russia. They've already discovered a significant percentage of pink diamonds there, and of course, pink diamonds are much more valuable. Represent you can generate much more revenue. They have of course diamonds are discovered in the geological anomaly that is known as the kimberlite pipe, and these kimberlite pipes have been discovered across Laatujoki. Also, eastern Finland, they have a deposit in Como, close to Russia, where they discovered a green diamond, and green diamonds are very rare indeed. So they there's also an element of radioactivity that is part of the formation of these diamonds. Of course, it gives them their particular hue. In addition, they have the Riivara assets also near Como, where they've recently discovered a new kimberlite body there. But the professor and his team have progressed work steadily throughout the period. There's been an issue with Laatujoki because the landowners there wanted compensation, which is often the case when you ask to go and mine a particular area. And the company said in February this year that the concessions were in advanced stage. They'd paid compensation to the landowners, but the landowners had appealed, and there's a court date on May the 21st where that court hearing will finalise the landowners' appeals over compensation, and also an issue with the mine boundary. Now, it should be said that the Laatujoki concessions have already been approved for mining by TUKS, TUK-ISA, which is the Finland Mining Authority. So certainly Professor Conroy seemed to think that this court hearing would prove successful, and the company would be able to get everything finalised so it could actually progress and get to work. Also in February, the company announced that at Como they'd sampled these till deposits, and and located or two of the sample locations where they had sampled till were close to the source of the green diamond. So highly encouraging, and the professor was very excited about that. And those till samples, or kimberlitic garnets as they're called, were then taken to the lab and underwent electron microprobe analysis, which can basically tell the tell of the nature of the diamond, and of course the actual composition, and also it's indicative of its proximity, or the sample's proximity to the source of the green diamond discovery. So this is that's a very encouraging step forward for Karelian diamonds at that juncture. The company also said that the Riavara asset, also at Kumo, they had secured a 3-year extension to their exploration permit, and indeed, with that progress, and at the time of that update, the company also said that it was progressing its assets in Northern Ireland. It also has a portfolio of nickel, copper, and platinum assets in Northern Ireland, Brokeborough in County Fermanagh, and various other sort of other sites in that region. One thing that is worth noting is that retail investor Kevin Taylor, who I did meet, I think, about a year ago, has picked up 6.9 million shares in the company and owns 6.6%. So that is a very interesting development. And obviously, at current levels, I mean, if we look at the Karelian share price, we're starting to see this the shares recover now from that bottom. We of course hit 5.5p in September last year. That's the year high, and just off the year lows, just over 2p in March this year, and the shares have recovered quite strongly to 3.1p. So encouraging developments, and obviously with Kevin Taylor picking up shares, I'm sure he and other shareholders will be hoping the shares will progress back to that year high. But certainly, I think all eyes on May the 21st for this court ruling. Once that's out of the way, then hopefully the Karelian can get on and get on the ground at Latterjoki and develop that particular asset.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Alan. Thank you very much, as always, for your time today, talking to us there about sovereign metals, Acuity risk management, and Karelian diamond resources. And I hope you get a good weekend in, and let's speak next week.
Thanks, Mark. Have a good weekend.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like, or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.